Supply of water and electricity to the Koforidua Polytechnic has been cut. The school has been cut off by the utility operators, that is the Ghana Water Company and the Electricity Company of Ghana, for failing to pay their bills. Joint News correspondent Kofi Siao is on this beat. He joins us with more on this. Kofi, what's the situation now? Are students walking about with buckets in search of water? Okay, so Kofi, I hope you can hear me now.
I can hear you.
Yes, we wanted to know the situation on the ground now. Is it that students are just walking about with buckets in search of water?
No, currently, even though the water and electricity supply has been cut, students' life on campus has been what I would describe as normal because they are currently in their various classes. Some are also waiting to attend to other responsibilities. And when I spoke to some of them, what they are telling me is that even though the light and the water has been cut, especially with the water, they have reservoirs which they are depending on it now. So they have enough water stored in those reservoirs, which they are currently falling on for their survival on campus.
I see. So for now, it is not really affecting them so much. But do you know whether or not lectures are ongoing?
Yes, just as I reported earlier on, lecturing or lectures has been going on as it's supposed to be done because they usually depend on the power during the evening hours. And now that power is not on, they are currently in classes, even though they have no power. And they usually don't depend on power during the day hours. So their complaint is that fine, they don't have light in the afternoon, but they will plead with authorities to ensure that they have light in the evening because according to them, some of the students are being attacked here and there whenever they go out when the lights are out.
For how long have they been in darkness and without water as well?
Well, the rector of the Polytechnic, Dr. Godfred Abledu, told me sometime last year in December, the electricity company had to cut their power supply to the school. But the intervention of the PRC ensured that power was restored to the school. So they went into negotiation with the school authorities and that of the Electricity Company of Ghana. So they were asked to pay a part of the amount owed, which is in excess of about 400,000 Ghana cedis. So they paid part and light was restored. But this year they've not been able to honor their part of the negotiation. So electricity company had to come in and cut power supply to the school. I see.
So the director tell you, give you any reasons why they were unable to make their payments this year?
Well, he is saying that hitherto they had support from government. And that support, they somehow also raised some internally generated funds to complement that of the government in paying their bills. But as it stands now, they've had correspondence from the ministry that they would have to factor in those bills as part of the work aspect of their annual budget. So they're going to consider that, and it means students would have to pay a part of those bills, and the Polytechnic will also support them in paying.
So, in other words, is that an implementation of the cost-sharing proposal?
Exactly. That is what the rector tells me.
I see. Okay. So for now, how are they looking at restoring power immediately?
Well, the rector, Dr. Abledu, says they're considering going to their bankers to find some loans in paying those bills. So as of now, he's started with the Student Representative Council and the school authorities, and they are considering sitting down with their bankers and to find loans from them to ensure that those bills are cleared.
Okay, Kofi Siao, thank you very much for that update. Kofi Siao is our correspondent on that particular bit. Now, speaking of utility tariffs, there have been proposals by government for a cost-sharing option on utility payment between students and lecturers. Now, speaking of utility tariffs, like I mentioned earlier, Nadede is one person who's been following closely this particular story. She's joining me in the studio now with more. So, Nadede, really, are students okay with this approach?
Well, students are not in any way okay with this approach. You don't think it is fair for government to ask them to pay their utility bills. But government is also saying that over 70% of students find themselves in private hostels, and just about the 30% find themselves in these traditional halls. So they don't see why they should subsidize for a simple minority when the majority are paying and bearing their own costs.
So what more have you gathered in following the story?
In following the story, what is informing government to propose this cost-sharing agreement is that you see the case of Koforidua Polytechnic, where their power has been cut. We've had instances where KNUST as well, some other tertiary institutions. So government is saying that we can't allow this to continue for the while that we are here. And it doesn't look like it's sustainable for government to continue paying our utility bills. So they had to organize this stakeholders conference, which was on the 25th of March. And at that particular conference, one of the things they wanted to discuss was strategies for sustainable consumption of utilities in tertiary institutions. Another one was to make recommendations to inform government policy regarding the use of utilities in tertiary institutions. So they had Vice Chancellors Ghana, they had NUCs, they had GNUCs, they had all the stakeholders in the education sector in Ghana. So they came up with various proposals, and the cost sharing was one of them. And they also found out that students in these traditional halls, because they do not bear the cost of the utilities they use, they end up misusing them. So you find someone having, in the various universities, we use hot plates, what we categorize as hot plates. We use electrical burners, and they consume a lot of energy. So government is saying that maybe if we introduce this cost-sharing approach, where students now have to bear their own costs, they will now be a little more responsible in terms of using water and electricity.
I see. So as of now, it merely remains a proposal.
Well, initially it looked like a directive, because we had the chairman of the National Council for Tertiary Education. He's been very consistent, saying that from the 2016-2017 academic year, students are going to start paying. But at a recent meeting with students at the is this Campus Connect? Yes, the Minister of Education was emphatic that there was no directive from government. It's a simple proposal. So as it stands now, we are being told, or students are being told, that it is a proposal. No directive has been issued. So we are waiting to see. We're waiting to see if indeed 2016-2017 academic year students will not have to pay, or they will pay.
Okay, Nadede, thank you very much for that update. Nadede Tete is my colleague right here at Joy.